Mally Roncal is a celebrity makeup artist and the founder and president of the Mally Beauty Cosmetics line, a QVC star and a columnist at Redbook. The daughter of an OBGYN mother and clinical psychiatrist father, Mally planned to study dermatology, but ultimately earned a degree in fine arts and entered the fashion industry. One of the most sought after makeup artists in the industry, with a client list that includes stars such as Beyonce and Celine Dion. She has been featured in the New York Times, People, the Oprah Magazine, Allure, InStyle, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, and Good Housekeeping. That's a pretty long list. And has appeared on Today, The View, Rachel Ray, The Wendy Williams Show, The Dr. Oz Show, and The Oprah Winfrey Show. Joining her today is Mindy Henderson, who gave her first speech at the age of 4, which is incredible, as the Texas State poster child for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Mindy later earned a master's degree and worked corporate jobs in high tech for 20 years, advancing steadily up the corporate ladder. Since then, Mindy has pivoted from her full-time work in the high-tech corporate world to building a platform as a motivational speaker, where she shares her message and the tools she has acquired to help her overcome not only her disability, but recovering from 2 devastating automobile accidents and job losses and more. Mindy currently resides in Austin, Texas, and her podcast, The Truth About Things That Suck, continues to inspire audiences everywhere to overcome their limitations. We're so excited to have Mindy and Mally joining us in conversation tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to them, and I'll be back later for the Q&A. So take it away, ladies.
Yay,
Thank you.
Jackie.
I'm so excited to talk to you, Mally.
Hi, Mindy. You
Hi.
look so bourgeois as usual, my
Thank
Mindy.
you. I
Serving
spent a
it up.
little extra time on my makeup, just to make sure your professional eye was satisfied.
I love that. If I had a nickel for every person who saw me in the grocery store, or we had an event or a party, and they're like, either it's like I worked really hard on my makeup, or they were like, don't look at my face, don't look at my face.
Exactly.
But but I'll tell you, you look gorgeous, and it really, at the end of the day, for me, obviously, I love makeup. That goes without saying. However, it is more about the light that you shine. That is way more important than what's on the outside. And I will say, being friends with you, know that your light is bigger and brighter than any other Mindy I know in the world. You are a very, very fantastic, incredible, inspirational person. I am so excited about your book, Mommy.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Love it so much. How are you feeling? Let's talk about that first and foremost before we get started, talking about all the things. How does it feel to have this book out in the world?
It's surreal. It's so funny because this was a 12-year project in the making. And so, there has not been a time in the last 12 years when I wasn't working on it or iterating it, or dreaming of, the different versions of it and what it really needed to be. And now that it exists, it's like, well, now what? now we just talk about the book, I suppose. But it's one of those things that you work on for so long, and then it's done, and it feels so strange.
Yeah, I bet.
But in a very good way. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
Oh, absolutely. And you should be. So obviously there's a lot to talk about, but I think one of my big questions about it is, what do you want people, aside from the obvious, the title's pretty dang good, I'll tell you. But aside from the obvious, what do you want people to feel or get out of this book? What would be like your number one thing that you want them to receive after reading your book?
I think I want them to know that we're not alone. every single person on this planet has problems and challenges and struggles. It's, it's unfortunately, it's kind of part of the human condition.
Yeah.
And I say unfortunately, but there's good also that can come out of the bad. And that's a lot of what I talk about in my book. But, when I set out to write the book, I knew at a very high level that I wanted to write a book that would help people navigate those challenges, because we all have them. And I'm a person who's had a lot of opportunity to get really, really good at navigating those challenges. But I also really wanted people, I didn't want this to be a book about disability. I didn't want it to be a book that was solely for people with disabilities. I wanted anyone who picked it up to be able to find themselves in it because of the universal nature of adversity. And so when I sort of landed on the framework of the book, I decided to sort of name those different areas in our lives that crop up that are problems for all of us. Things like job loss and illness and shame and loneliness and, 17 different things that I feel like are pretty universal and that we all can relate to. And I talked about how they've manifested in my life and how I've learned to get through them and look at them. And it's really a book about our mindset as we work through these things. And with our mindsets, we can make things so much worse or so much better, just in how we choose to look at what we're going through. And so, I think, like I said at the beginning, I think I really wanted everyone to see the commonalities in these things and to really feel like they're not alone.
I love that. And it really, you do that so incredibly well.
Aw.
And here's that. So here's my question. So like, I'm going to play devil's advocate because you and I are very similar in the sense that we choose positivity. We choose positive energy. We want to feel good, even when things do suck. We do try to find the good, right? And things. But I'm going to play devil's advocate because I get this a lot. And I bet you do too.
Sure.
Right? It's like, okay, so you're saying mindset. So you're saying like, choose the positive, all that stuff. How do you do that? Like, how do you do that when things are so tough, when you are literally face to face with the scariest moment in your life or something that's, that's miserable? How do you do that? And why do we want to do that? Like, why not? Misery loves company. I mean, listen, I've been on the subway, honey, during like 100-degree heat where everybody is like stinky and sweaty and mad and over it. And I can tell you that misery loves company. Okay.
Yes.
But the truth of the matter is, and I mean that very figuratively, but also literally, that, how and why do you suggest we change our mindset if it's not in the right place?
Yeah, and that is the question, isn't it? And I have so much I want to say about this question. And I think the short answer is it's not easy. It's easy for me to sit up here, or you, or both of us to sit up here and say, choose joy and all of those things, but it's not as easy as all of that. And that, I think that's why I wrote an entire book about it, because there's a lot to say on the subject. And for me, at least, this was 49 years of work in the making, to lead me down these roads and to help me sort of figure out who I wanted to show up as in the world and how I wanted to respond to the problems that jumped out of the corners at me. And, there are practices and things that I've put in place. I'm answering the how for you right now. But there are practices like gratitude and we hear a lot about gratitude practices and things, but things like that are so, at least in my life, they've been really, really important to practice preemptively, because I really do believe that you can sort of rewire your brain to think and respond a certain way over the course of time. And if you develop practices for yourself, things like gratitude practices, which everybody is familiar with, that's something that can really set you on a path to when something bad happens, when something goes south, to be able to get to sort of a constructive, more positive place a little bit quicker than maybe you would have otherwise.
Right.
And so a lot of it is a choice in the moment that you make. And I talk about a lot of things in the book about just sort of intention and stopping yourself in the moment and listening to your thoughts and the loops that play in our heads and all of those things. So I think there's a lot that you can do to address the how, but then the why, I think it just feels better. I do agree with you. There's something to be said for commiserating and for the whole misery loves company thing, like you said. And I do think that, I'm not a psychologist, but I do think that it's important to feel what you're feeling when something bad happens. I'm not one that would ever say, skip over those feels and get straight to the positivity, because that's not healthy either. You've got to let yourself feel what's going on. And I interviewed a guy named Sean Aker for the book, who is a happiness researcher. He's brilliant. And and he's the one when I interviewed him, we talked a lot about all of these things. And he actually reminded me that it's actually okay to not be okay for a minute.
Oh, hell yes.
As long as you don't set up camp there. Because I do also really think that once you sink into the pity parties and the feeling sorry for yourself and the victimization, it's really hard to pull yourself back up out of that. And so if you can avoid sinking too deep into it, it's going to be a lot easier going forward.
Well, and you are such an inspiration because, again, we know each other well, and, listen, we can, you talk about it in the book. You have been through so much, and you have made the conscious decision to not live there, to live in the dark place. And Dan, that's it's such a strong inspiration and a strong example, and look, I absolutely, we all agree that everyone is different and everyone deals with pain and hurt and, things that suck in different ways.
Yes.
But when you have people like you, and, I had a tough, childhood in the sense that I grew up with a mom who had cancer my whole life. So I literally watched, I was living basically in fear my entire childhood because I just didn't know when the person that I loved most and was closest to in the world was going to leave me, and especially as a child. So, it's not that we all have our different challenges. But the idea to look around at each other, and I think that's the reason why I love you so much, is like when we look at each other and we're inspired by the stuff that we go through and how we can pull ourselves out of it. This is something that I am very passionate about, by surrounding yourself with people, right, that are going to not accept and let you live in that dark place.
Right.
That's very important. And I think for, I'm sure you have had this as well. We've all had to look at some people in our lives and say, you know what? You need to go.
It's true. I mean, energy is so contagious, and honestly, that's another reason why I choose to live the way that I do, because I don't want to be the person that brings everyone else down, because I've experienced that from other people, and it's, it doesn't feel good. But I am curious to know from you, because you're the original positivity preacher, and, with the childhood that you had and the things that you had to work your way through, how did you become you, and how did you develop this mindset of positivity?
Well, it's funny. Oh my goodness gracious. Stop. Hold on. Don't
He's
go
hiding.
away. Hold on. What's happening? Oh gosh. Okay. Hold please.
There she
Okay.
is.
All right. Sorry. I okay. Am I back? Am I back?
You're
Sorry.
back.
Okay.
Yes.
Technical difficulties. I'll tell you one thing. In this world of Zoom, phones, computers, technology, all that stuff, I think it has taught us all a little more humility, right?
Yes. Oh,
Because
yeah.
half the time I have no dang idea what is going on with this phone, and I'm pressing all the things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, but this is the communication of the world. Don't call me.
It leveled the playing field for sure.
Right. And it's like back in the day, I used to joke because, in the 80s, remember when like VHS, I don't know if anybody on
Oh,
here,
yeah.
what is that? Yeah. I used to be so good, Mindy. I could like put all the technology together and all the things. And now I'm like, what is that?
Now you need a degree. Yeah.
And I got kids, thank God. The kids usually will know how to do all that stuff. Anyway,
It's amazing. Yes.
it is amazing. But anyway, long story short, well, thank you for saying that. I do believe in Positivity Preacher. Yes, it is a little. So Positivity Preacher, just so if everyone's like, what the heck are you talking about? So long story short, a million years ago, obviously, I started as a makeup artist and I was working, living this amazing, crazy life, on the road with the biggest celebrities in the world. And then 17 years ago, thank you, God, we started Mally Beauty. Hello, Mally Beauty. We started Mally Beauty. And for 17 years, I've had the pleasure and honor of being on QVC, not only presenting the products, but also, my husband always says makeup was always just the vehicle to take me closer to people, because that's what I've always really loved, which is loving people and lifting them up and inspiring them maybe to, try a little harder when things are difficult. I find that a lot with people, that when they're in a dark place or when things are hard, one of the first things that goes is pulling themselves together, if that makes sense, right?
It does.
Think about it, right? When you feel like crap, when things are hard, you're not thinking about putting any lipstick or mascara on.
So
right?
true.
It's really not. You
Yeah.
can barely get out of bed, let alone brush your hair or put on it. So I've always kind of used it as a vehicle to maybe say, you know what, maybe you're not having the best day, but you can put a little bit of lip gloss on. You can put a little bit of eyeshadow or eyeliner. And maybe it seems completely insignificant, but somewhere you are loving yourself. And it is self-care, and it is going to lift you out of that place that you are in. So I did that for most of my life with my mom. So long story short, she was diagnosed with breast cancer before I turned 1 year old, and they gave her 6 months to live. And she ended up living by the grace of God and because she was a badass queen for 17 years.
Wow.
So I had her, for 17 years, which was such a blessing. However, within that 17 years, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of worry. That is why I am a worrywart. That is why I constantly, to this day, at 50 years old, will wake up in the middle of the night. And that's when, Mindy, the nighttime is when the enemy comes for me.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night. The house is quiet. Dogs are sleeping. The whole thing. And that's when the devil's like, tick, 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 tick. Hello. I'm here to make you as worried as you possibly can about everything. And I think we're all like that, because in the day, right, we're hustling, we're going, we're moving, there's things happening. So, but anyway, to answer your story, or to answer your question 100 years ago, it was something that it was a muscle that I had to form within myself, which was, and I think you can relate to this as well, is make the choice. Make the choice. There's fear, there's worry, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's all of these things. And
Mhm.
growing up with a dad that was a psychiatrist. Thank you, Jesus. He's
Oh,
still great. By the way, I need to brag on my dad because he is 83 and healthy and is on no medication, knocking on wood, and like eats the cleanest food and is just this amazing, and totally
so
my
good.
inspiration. Yeah.
Love it.
So, but that's the thing is making that conscious decision. But to your point, like what you were saying before, feeling those things that we have to feel. Because if
Mhm.
you don't, that's worse. That's
Yes.
worse. Taking all of that, all the things that suck, and pushing it down and pushing it down and hiding it. What I have found personally is it will find its way out. It
Yeah.
will find its way out, whether it's your skin, whether it's your hair. I had
Mhm.
alopecia for years where literally I was bald, literally giant bald patches all over
Oh,
my head because I wasn't allowing myself to feel the things I needed to feel. I was
yeah.
hiding it. Nope, I'm fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Right?
Yes. It's true. It's so true. And, things like stress and anxiety, I mean, all of those emotions have to go somewhere, right? And, like you said, they're going to come out somewhere no matter what. And, sometimes that's in our mental health. It's depression, it's anxiety, and, the stress and the anxiety and all of that. And the thoughts and things are still there and they're still playing on those loops. I heard a speaker at a conference a couple of years ago who said something so simple but so smart, and it stuck with me. And she was talking about the mind-body connection. And she said that, our bodies are made up of billions of cells, billions, and we're having all of these thoughts all day long, just a constant stream of thoughts running through our heads. And those billions of cells in our bodies are hearing every single one of the thoughts that we're having in our minds. And so that I felt like that was really powerful, and it really stuck with me. And it really kind of made me sit up and take notice of, okay, let's deal with these thoughts that we're having and give it the space and the time that it needs. I think it's really important.
I couldn't agree more. And in all honesty, speaking of, okay, so here's my other question. And I think I know the answer you're going to say. However, I feel like it's something that we need to just put out into the world, because with the phones, with the computers, with the social media, and with the world as it is today, I'm just going to say it like that because I cannot. You have a child, we have kids. I look at them and I say, what's going to happen to you when, in this world? What is the best way, again, because talking about things that suck, right?
Yeah.
What is the best way? And maybe in one of the suggestions you have in your book to kind of not avoid, what is the best word I want to say? To not completely focus on those really crazy things when they are viable, right? They are a viable thing that, and I know you do a lot of things for a lot of amazing people. So is that the way to do it? Kind of like refocus and just try to be a helper when it seems like it's not very great out there, right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, honestly, because there's plenty of things in the world that we could dwell on and focus on that suck. The truth about those things. And so I think I'm trying to think of the saying. I think it was Tony Robbins who talks about, where your attention goes, or where something grows, your
Yes.
energy grows.
Yes.
And it's true. I'm sorry, I just butchered that phrase. But you
We
get
have
the
a
gist.
lot of quotes. There's a lot of quotes that kind of float around here. That's why
True.
it's not always easy to get them right.
But I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and I think that we have some choice over what we give our attention and our energy to. And sometimes it's in your face, and it's not as easy as all of that. But I'll tell you what, I had a challenge hit my life 2 days before this book came out that I can't even with. It was so huge, and it was almost like the universe was saying, okay, you wrote your little book, you gave the advice about the hard things, let's try this one on for size. It was big. And and it was one of those things that is so in your face. And, I tried and tried for a few days to, push it away and not feel it and not be upset about it and those sorts of things. And then I finally realized that what I needed to do was ask myself who I wanted to show up as in this particular journey, and who I wanted to be, and how I wanted to respond, and how I wanted to be
For
present.
somebody being shady, do I need to beat somebody's butt? Just let me know.
I'll send you their phone number. But yes, it's, I think that we always have a choice about, what we pay attention to and how we think about things. And I think that sometimes just replacing something so bad with something better, putting things in your life that you have to look forward to, and, going to lunch with a friend and enjoying their company. And, there are things that you can do to sort of refocus that attention. And so I think that that's, what I've been the most successful at doing when stuff is just kind of staring you down.
Yeah, we are very similar like that. I'm a huge fan of the little joys. The little joys. Like I don't get me wrong, I love a vacation. I love all the big, whatever. But you know what? I am just as excited when I'm like in the car and I'm like, who wants to go to Starbucks? And everyone's like, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And the holiday cups.
Right? These little things. I am a huge supporter of the little things, because you can't always just look forward to the big things, because truth is there's just not that many of them, right? Like there's not that many weddings, you're not having that many kids, or or whatever those big things can be. So one of my biggest suggestions always, and sometimes people are like, meh, I don't get it. The little things that bring you joy, because everybody has them. Everyone has those little secret things. You don't even have to tell anybody what it is, as long as it's legal and you're good.
Yeah.
Then, okay.
If it makes you happy. Yeah.
Well,
yes, and, I just got this sort of that visual came to mind, where you take, a picture and you fill it up with big rocks, like you said, the weddings or the parties and the whatever, and eventually you run out of room because the big things take up so much space, but then you fill it with sand, and all of these little bitty things fill up the whole entire rest of the picture, because it seeps around those big rocks. And so you're very wise, Mally Roncal.
Well, I don't know about that. I just know that I love a good Starbucks, and I love coffee. I love a little, trip to Target, those little things. It sounds so silly, but those are, that's what life is kind of made up of, right? All these little tiny moments that will then make a great moment. Okay. So silly question. I won't ask you what your Starbucks order is, but maybe I will. What's your Starbucks order?
You know what? These days, I'm kind of over the sweet stuff. So
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's an oat milk latte
Oh,
makes my day every day.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
What's yours?
Well, it's so funny you say that because I have an espresso machine, which
Mm.
weirdly brings me so much joy every morning. And
Uh-huh.
I've been making lattes with cashew milk, which has been game changing. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone on this live right now is like, I don't care. But anyway, we're in the moment. So,
Cashew
but
milk, a game changer.
it's a game changer. It's a game
Okay.
changer. But yeah, you should try it because it's
I'm
good.
going to.
It's not light. No, don't,
Mhm.
it's like a whole meal. But I'll tell you, it is like the frothiest, most amazing. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Anyway.
Okay.
Uh,
You sold me.
so okay, so you wrote the book. You're so proud of yourself, which you should be, now. Are you I know we talked about this. You're going to talk about the book. We're going to scream it from the rooftops. Is there a favorite chapter that you have?
It's so funny. Because I feel guilty if I answer that question because it's almost like choosing your favorite child,
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I do really love the chapter on failure. Because
Because you get
wrote
to talk about being a country singer.
I did. And I got to talk about Barbara Mandrell. If anyone is watching that doesn't know just go to YouTube and look for one of her dance numbers.
Yes.
It will make your life.
Yes. And
So
the Mandrell sisters.
Yes. Louise and Arlene are her sisters. And I lived for Saturday nights, and she's who made me want to be a country singer. And I made a go of it in my 20s. And clearly I am not a country star. I didn't win any Grammys, but what I kind of realized in writing that chapter was that I won so many times in living that journey. And I got to do some of the most fun, cool things along the way, and sang to audiences and got to be on television, and it was you can't look at that. People have regrets in their lives and they say, oh, I never made it, I never did the thing. But if you look at everything you did along the way, there are moments of winning everywhere, and it's just, I think that's my favorite chapter.
I love that. And I think that's so important. And I'm learning that more and more actually as I'm getting older. And again, you just turned 49. I turned 50 this year as well. So it's funny because I think so many of us do think of life like that, like the big wins,
Yes,
the big moments, you sold the company, you got whatever, all those things. But it's not about, again, those giant wins. It's all about the little things.
Yeah.
And it really is. And I think that that's one of the things that I try so hard to preach to people, because we're all searching for these like huge moments in life. And like you said, when you take that, and I love that chapter because you take that moment, right? That kind of micro moment, if you think about it in your big life.
Yeah.
And you look at all the amazing, incredible things that you at the time maybe took for granted.
Right.
That anybody else in the world is going like, I would die to have that happen, to live, to stand on that stage, to do whatever. And that's what I always encourage other people to do also, is nobody has the wins that you have. Nobody has the incredible life that you have, and that relationship, and that person loved you, and you won that award for that, whatever website you create. I don't know, whatever, all those things. And that's something you need to relish in and love and scream about from the rooftops. Listen, if there's anything the dang internet is good for, it's at least tooting your own horn. Okay.
It's true. It's
Because
true.
that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
at least take that moment and be proud of yourself and
Yes.
express it. And, you know, and I think that's something that I love so much about your book is you are taking your moments
Mhm.
and sharing them with everyone and giving all the moments that you're proud of. And that
Yeah.
is so powerful.
Thank you. I thank you for saying that. But and I think the other thing that I just want to say is that, you know, those big moments are great. And, you know, I think, you know, if you get to live any of those big moments, they're fantastic. But I think that if you're always just waiting for those big moments, it kind of does an injustice to the rest of your life, you know.
Amen.
And so I do. I think we all need to get a little bit better at appreciating the day in and the day out and the people that we get to see and the moments that we get to live every day.
I could not agree more. It's so funny. I am in that right now. We have 15-year-old twin girls and a 12-year-old. And I have had, you know, during this COVID period, have been able to literally be with them every single day, which, listen, I will say, by the grace of God, I have, with how busy my career has been and my life and QVC and traveling and all this kind of stuff, I did make a few rules in the beginning of my career when I had kids that were non-negotiable. So I would always say 3 days is the maximum I'm away from them. 3 nights. That's it, because I don't want to miss anything. You know, it's funny. You know, I had back in the day when I launched on QVC in 2005, it was before I had babies and all of this. And I'll never forget a very successful woman who was selling also on air on QVC, who was busy, like always, you know, number one. She came up to me and I was pregnant with the twins, and she put her hands on my belly and she said, listen to me. She's like, this is all amazing. She's like, you're on a rocket ship. And I know that. I know the customer loves you. I know that you literally could do this every single day. And there will be people asking you. And she said, but I missed every soccer game. I missed every first step. I missed every braces appointment, and I missed all these moments. And I just want to make sure that if this is something that you want, then do it. But if you don't make the mistake I made. And it got me, like, it stuck to me like glue. And I'm so grateful to say I didn't miss a thing. I was lucky enough to be around. However, here we are a million years later, and the girls are big. And sometimes I look at them and I think, when they go, wherever they go and fly in this world, I'm never going to have the luxury of us just sitting around. And this is where you live. And this is where, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden it'll be like, well, Mom, I got to, you know, drive home now. And and I'm going to be like, oh, you know.
It's so true. And what a gift that woman gave you by sharing that advice, you know, before you got so far down that road that you couldn't pivot and, you know, implement different habits and rules of the game. I love that. I love that. And can I just say, one thing that I want to say about you and your company, because you've got this amazingly successful company. But I think that one of the reasons, in my humble opinion, why you've been so successful is that you focus, I really believe, as much on the inner beauty as your products focus on the outer beauty. And I wish that all brands in the beauty industry could understand that, because it's so important, and you're so amazing. And you're nominated for awards on QVC. I'm so excited for you. And
Thank you for posting. I appreciate it so
oh my
much.
gosh.
You posted, and yes, it is such a blessing. We're nominated for 5 QVC Customer Choice Awards.
Yes.
So if anybody's listening, please go to qvc.com, and if you or just go to my Instagram at Mally Roncal, and the link is in my bio. Just because it is what I, and we talk about this. I don't do awards because I want to be like, we won awards. Like, it means that people cared enough to go and make that move and click that link and say, okay, I'm going to help, because it's, it is something, yes, like you, we're very similar in that way. We do everything 110%.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is what we do.
Yeah. But with those nominations, I wasn't the least little bit surprised because of the woman behind the product and the company. So I just had to say that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Listen, this is something that, I feel always, again, very close to you, because you have such a great, it sounds so cliche, but to be like, oh, you have such a great attitude or whatever. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And, I think that making the conscious decision to choose joy, as corny as it sounds, I'll tell you one thing, dang that Home Goods. I love me some Home Goods, but I walk in there and they have all those signs like live, laugh, love.
Oh, I know.
And I'm like, you know what? I used to say that stuff, and now I can't say it anymore because you got a dang sign all the time.
Stitched on a pillow now. Yes. Yes. But yeah, but a cliche becomes a cliche for a reason. It's because it's true, and it really is true that, we make our choices about how we approach the world and how we live our lives, and, not easy, but it is a choice.
Okay. So I'm going to ask some silly questions, because because I love, well, first of all, I want to call it girl time, but it's really just like friend time.
Yeah.
So, because again, I know how much work and energy and love you put into this book. And I know how much time it took, again, years for you to gather all this information and write it so eloquently. So I'm going to ask some silly questions. When you can eat anything you want to eat for dinner, what is it?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, my favorite thing on the planet is loaded fries from, do you guys have Alamo Draft House?
No.
Oh, if you ever
sounds very
it's a movie house that serves food, and they make the most sinful loaded fries. So that is for sure my guilty pleasure.
I love that. I love that. See, those are the kinds of things. All right. So let's pretend you have a day off. What is the first thing, or what is the main thing that you like to do?
Drink coffee. My husband, my love languages are coffee and hot sauce. And my husband gave me the best birthday gift this year. He researched like what the best cup of coffee was, and he got all the equipment to make that coffee. What? And so I want to sit quietly and drink coffee, and probably binge watch some mind numbing stuff on the streaming channels and things. So I think that's if I have nothing to do.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? Those things are so important, right, Mind? Like if you're not numbing your mind a little bit, right?
Yeah, you do. You have to quiet it down a little bit and divert, all the activity. So,
hi, somebody's back.
Hello. That definitely sounds like the perfect day, Mindy. I'd like to tag along.
Everybody's welcome.
So that was a great conversation. Thank you so much. We'll now jump into the audience Q&A. So just a friendly reminder, feel free to submit those questions using the webinar's Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. But to start off, we will start with some questions we've already received. So sorry about technical difficulties. I muted myself. Okay, so our first question, and I'm going to read this one verbatim because I think that it's very true. Am I dreaming? This event is so inspiring. Both Mindy and Mally together live, two women that make me feel like I can do anything. What do you find most inspiring about each other?
Oh God, that's honey. How much time do we have?
I know. I was going to say, I need like an hour at least.
It goes without saying for Mindy. I mean, guys, obviously she's stunning. She's smart. She's funny. She's fierce. She's wicked. She's all of these incredibly talented things. And I think you can feel her heart from a million miles away. You know, it goes without saying that, you know, she says it all the time. She didn't necessarily have the easiest road, you know, and a lot of people could be like, you know what, forget this. I'm just going to go live in this dark place. And not only did she decide that she was going to pull herself out of a dark place and live in light, but also share that light with so many other people all over the world. So done, finished.
Oh, you used all my words. I wanted to use the same words about you. Mally is amazing. And I think apart from all of the same things that she just said, I mean, she's got this beautiful heart. She's a beautiful person. And I think that one of Mally's biggest gifts is really making people feel like they matter. And the first time that I met Mally, she, you know, you said all of the, you know, the shows and things that she's been on, and she's this, you know, successful, amazing celebrity, and she made me feel like I mattered when I talked to her. And she's so accepting of people, and you really can see how important it is to her that everyone feels like they're important and that everyone is included. And that's just one of my favorite things about her.
Oh, I love you. Thank you, Mama. Oh my gosh, that is too much. Yeah, we could go on forever. All we need is some coffee and some loaded fries and we're good.
Yes.
You would need a whole part 2 just to talk about that.
Exactly.
So along with that, there's kind of a part 2 to that question. What are your favorite things about yourselves? Or what would you say your favorite thing is about yourself? And that's a question for both of you.
Mindy, you gotta go. You gotta go first. Sorry. And if you can hear my husband yelling and kids, hold on one second. Guys, I'm kind of on a live with a lot of people.
Tell them we said hi.
But they say hi. They say hi. Okay. So Mindy, I want to hear this about. I want to hear you toot your own dang horn.
You know what? And it's really sad that this is that much harder than the last question to answer, which I just feel like I need to say out loud. But I think I've always kind of appreciated my sense of humor. And I learned, I don't know if it was the family I grew up in or where exactly it came from, but I learned that you can always laugh no matter what. People always tease me because even if I'm crying, I'm laughing. And so I think it would probably be my sense of humor, which sometimes is just inappropriately timed, but you can always count on it, I suppose.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, I got to tell you, I think that this is a very interesting question because I think that I'm just going to say, especially as women, we are trained to not want to say good things about ourselves, right? We're so about you, and we want to make sure that you feel important. It's all about you. And then when it comes to us, it's like, oh, like, think about it. If someone's like, oh, your hair looks good today. Oh, it's dirty. I haven't washed it in 3 days. Like, you always find that one thing. And I'm going to name drop here obnoxiously. I'm sorry. But you know who taught me not to do that anymore? Beyonce. Beyonce taught me that when someone gives you a compliment, even if maybe you're not feeling it in that moment, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Just say thank you. And, you know, don't go, no, I don't. I have a zit here and I didn't want, you know, we always tend to push ourselves down, and to just say thank you and take that little win and put it in your pocket and go, yes, I'm going to accept that compliment and I'm going to move on with my life. I think that's really important. So that's the one thing we're all going to work on. Okay, everybody, on this. When someone compliments us, we just say thank you and we move on.
I love it.
I think that thank you. The thing that I think about me that I try to do as much as I can is just acceptance, accepting of myself, accepting of the things that have happened in my past, accepting people in my life for who they are, accepting when it's time to let people go out of our lives, like just accepting and feeling it and moving on. You know, we have a bit of a circus family, we always call ourselves, because Phil and I are both maniacs. And then we have 3 incredibly insane, wonderful daughters. And Sophie's a lesbian, and Pilar's a unicorn, and Vivian is just a mini me. So that's a whole other conversation. And, you know, people look at our family and they're like, wow, that's so cool that you just love everybody. And they dress like it's Halloween every day. And we support that. And I think that's something that Phil and I both as parents and just as people try to always maybe inspire people to say, just love your people for who they are. And maybe it's completely different from the way you feel, or you're like, oh, that's weird, or oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable. She's gay, he's trans. I don't understand this world you're living in. Try to just maybe take a step back and say, what is it about this life that you love? I want to learn. So I think that's what we tried to do. And that's what I try to like about myself the most, is that I try to live very open, you know. It's not always easy, because sometimes you look at people and you're like, you're just a jerk. But anyway, so
and we can accept that.
Right. I accept that you're a jerk. Now get out of my face. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Love that.
So good.
All right. So our next question here. So I have CP, and the ups and downs in life in the last 2 years since I have started my positive journey, it's hard to stay that way all the time, which I definitely can relate to that too. It's hard, always looking at the bright side. But do you ever take 1 or 2 woe is me kind of days a month? And what do you do on those days to really pull yourself out of that? I know you talked a little bit about this earlier, both of you, but would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And absolutely. I definitely have my moments where I'm not feeling it, and, I'm tired of, all of the inconvenience and the annoyance of feeling like I've got 50-pound weights strapped to my arms every day, and all of that. And I do, I think that it's really important when you're not feeling it to let yourself have some time to work through it. And for me, that can look like different things. Sometimes I just want a quiet day where I kind of, isolate myself a little bit, and I keep to myself, and I work through, I just sort of let what's in my head run its course. Sometimes I'll journal and get it out of my head. And other times, I want to watch Miss Congeniality and, and try to laugh and, see if I can, sort of naturally move myself into a happier place. Sometimes I want to watch a thriller and see things get blown up, and that makes me feel better. And so I think just listening to yourself and giving yourself grace, because none of us are perfect. But what I can tell you that I know for 100% certain is that every single one of us are stronger than our challenges, and we're stronger than our worst days. And so if you can just give yourself grace on those days and kind of listen to what you need and give yourself that, I think that's all anybody can ask of us.
So I was, I'm a drag queen, right? We've discussed this, not literally a drag queen, but sort of a drag queen. So part of the drag queen life is that you have fans. So for what Mindy just said, I have to give you a fan. Are you ready? Yes, Miss Wendy. Yes, Miss Mindy. Yes to that.
And sometimes
yes,
you need a fan that puts a smile on your face.
Listen, fans are very important. Not only do they keep you cool when you're having a moment. This one says yes, but sometimes the Y doesn't come out and it just says ass, and it's very inappropriate. And you're like, oops, sorry about that.
And yet it makes me laugh. So,
whatever you got to do. But yes, that is absolutely right. You have to do all those things. And yes, I think the number one thing, we talk about positivity a lot, and again, thanks Home Goods, it's just thrown around like a little, it's not the same power as it used to be. But the reason why I started Positivity Preacher with my husband, which is basically just like a mission and a movement of just, again, being able to appreciate, yes, that things do suck sometimes, but the point is that you can accept it, watch some things get blown up. I was a big, I'm not a violent person. I think you can all pretty much imagine that. However, I'll never forget one time I was in London and we were at QVC UK, and I was angry. I was so angry about there's so many things that were going on, and I was so just and I was so mad, but I couldn't do anything, and it was just all sitting in there. And my assistant, she looked at me and she just grabbed the pillow and she was like, punch it. And I was like, no, that's weird. And she's like, just punch it. And I was like, and I just went crazy on this pillow, and I was like, oh, that really felt good.
Yeah.
And it was like this moment, right, of just like, you got to just, yes, you do have to have moments where you just sit in it and are like, I'm really mad about this, that, and then you put it away, and then you go get coffee with Mindy and Mally, and we sit and we talk about all the good things.
Yes. Because no matter how you're feeling, it is okay. If you're angry, that's okay. If you're sad, that's okay. It's how you feel. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on that note of punching pillows and feeling all of the feelings and being okay with it, that brings us to the end of our evening. Thank you so much, Mindy. Thank you, Mally. This was a hugely inspiring evening. I'm so glad that you were able to join us tonight. Thank you. And thank you to all of you at home that joined us as well. Please consider purchasing your copy of The Truth About Things That Suck from RJ Julia or Wesleyan RJ Julia. There are signed book plates available. And we will see you all next time. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye, Wendy. Bye. Love you.
Bye. Bye.